Hi everybody, it's Heidi. Welcome to week 2 of Heidi's Health Kick. Last week, I cleansed my body by doing the Master Cleanse for 7 days, so I decided this week I was gonna kind of cleanse my mind and start thinking differently about vegan food and food in general. So this week, I am watching 7 food documentaries. I'm gonna be watching one every day and then reporting back at the end of the day after I watch the film to tell you my thoughts and my opinions on it. I am a film major, so I feel as though I'm gonna critique them in kind of a film-ish way, so I'm sorry if I start using really big terms at any point throughout this week. Before we get into the challenge, I just want to remind you to vote up in the poll for what you want to see me do next. And if you have some really interesting suggestions, please leave them down below, and you might see it on a poll next week. Let's get started. It is day 1 of watching food documentaries, and the first one that I decided to watch is Forks Over Knives. I've never watched this documentary before, and it's been recommended on Netflix for a long time. This documentary is 96 minutes long, directed by Lee Fulkerson, and honestly, I really liked this documentary. It mostly addresses the health benefits of going on a plant-based diet. Now, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this documentary is that they don't push vegan or vegetarian lifestyles on you. They talk about plant-based lifestyles, which is essentially a vegan lifestyle. They don't mention the word vegan pretty much at all, except for twice, and this is when a vegan wrestler comes on and is being interviewed about his lifestyle and how it affects his profession. They also only mention vegetarian once throughout the film, and this is also in an interview with somebody other than, I guess, like the main cast or the main people in this documentary. This film is quite graphic at some of the earlier points in it when they talk about heart disease and diabetes. They show actual surgery footage at the beginning, but if you're squeamish, I definitely recommend looking away, but still listen to it. You don't hear the surgeries at all, but you hear Lee Fulkerson, the director of the film, kind of narrate over top, and it's him talking about the research studies that are going on during these early kind of developments in heart surgery. I get what they're trying to say by persuading the viewers to pick up a fork and actually eat a plant-based lifestyle compared to living an unhealthy lifestyle and eventually needing surgery in order to cure their illnesses. However, I don't feel like their argument was 100% there. They presented all the facts and a lot of the test results that have been accumulating over the past few decades in a really graphic manner. And by graphic, I mean a very wonderful manner that makes every viewer, no matter what their intelligence level or educational level, they make it easier to understand by showing bar graphs, pictographs, all of those fun kind of things. To the uninterested viewer or the person who's just kind of scrolling through Netflix, seeing the title Forks Over Knives, and I know I did this, I thought they meant like butter knives or steak knives. I didn't think that they meant scalpels. It should have been a little bit more clear in the title. That's just my own opinion. But other than that, the documentary was pretty good. Not the best that I've seen. I would probably rate it a 7.5 out of 10. It is Tuesday and I just finished watching my second film of the week, and that is Plantpure Nation. It came out in 2015, so last year. I watched it on Netflix and it was the perfect sequel to the movie that I watched yesterday. It is directed by Nelson Campbell, who is the son of Dr. Colin Campbell, who is one of the 2 main doctors who was in Forks Over Knives. This film had a great segue from all the discussions that were happening in the first film. That one really set up the plot of this film or this documentary. It gave you all of the historical and the medical backgrounds of what they're talking about in this one. And this one is all of their work put into action and trying to encourage people to incorporate a plant-based diet in their lives. So this movie follows Nelson Campbell, and I don't remember the other guy's name, but he is in the Kentucky Congress. He's somehow related to that, and they are trying to get a program started in Kentucky in low-income areas where all of the people or a certain amount of groups eat a plant-based diet. Now, the big thing in this movie that they're dealing with are the people in Congress who have ties to the meat and dairy industries, and they're basically not allowing these legislatures to pass and not actually happen because they have money invested in this, or they are somehow making money from these meat and dairy industries. So what this film does, it acts as a study that they end up kind of bringing to Congress, and it documents all their trials throughout. I think it's like a year-long span that this movie covers. So what they decide to do is start a program called Plantpure and bring it to small communities. I believe they're in Virginia. Either that or North Carolina, I'm not 100% sure, but they ask some of the locals to adopt a plant-based diet for a few weeks, and they provide all of the food for them, which I thought was really cool. And as the programs complete and more people want to join, the groups get bigger and bigger until finally they decide they're ready to bring it to Congress. The best part about this film that I really enjoyed is them talking about all of the meals that they're making for everybody. They don't necessarily show you all of the meals, but they show you a few of them and how they're packaged, and they look delicious. They look like something that you would buy at a food court that just happened to not have meat and eggs in it. It looks delicious, and that's probably one of the easiest way to get people to adopt the lifestyle, to try a ton of different foods and just test it out. One of the things that I really picked up on in this documentary as well is how many times they say vegan. I believe they said vegan 3 times and vegetarian once as well. And I finally figured out why. The term vegan is completely separate from plant-based diet. Now, they're basically the same thing, but they both represent 2 different things. So a plant-based diet is more the health-conscious vegan. They eat a plant-based diet for the health benefits. They don't really necessarily care about the animals. They're caring more about themselves and the effects that what they put into their body are having on their health. Vegans are people who don't eat dairy and meat because of the ethical reasons surrounding the industries. I'm going on a 15-week vegan diet, but I have recently discovered that it is a vegan diet, but I'm going on a plant-based diet. I'm going on it for my health. I want to lose some weight. I want to feel healthier and better overall, and while I do care about the animals and the industries surrounding both dairy and meat, I'm doing this for myself to cleanse my body, and that is what this movie or this documentary really helped me kind of discover. So it is Wednesday. It has been a quite relaxing day. That is why I have a messy bun. Today's movie is Vegucated. This came out in 2011 and it is by Marissa Miller Wolfson. This film follows 3 people on a 6-week vegan diet. They were individually selected to be put on this diet and documented for these 6 weeks. And throughout this process, they learn about the industry of meat and dairy farming. They learn different recipes. They kind of find themselves, as you could say, and it turns out to be a very positive experience for them. I am a film student, so when I watch films like this, the first kind of thing that pops into mind, and because I've studied many different types of documentaries, this term has come up quite a few times, and I don't mean to offend anybody when I say it. If I'm gonna put it in a genre of films, I'm gonna put it in a vegan propaganda genre. There are many types of vegan, vegetarian documentaries. There are ones that are very health-based with like the studies of being on a vegan diet, like the ones that I watched earlier on in the week. Then there are ones that are really focused on the industries surrounding it. And then there's ones like this where it's kind of a wish-wash between the both and they kind of meet in the middle and it becomes a type of propaganda. I'm gonna clarify that when I say propaganda, I don't mean it in the negative way that you would associate with the word propaganda. What I am saying is that, like typical propaganda, there is a clear message that these films are trying to send, and they are trying to influence the people who watch these films to change their lifestyles and agree with the points that are being made. Most of these points are in fact true, that's why they're bringing them up, and I can't disagree with them. However, I'm not 100% happy with the way they went about it in this particular film. I do enjoy the fact that these 3 people are willing to go on these diets and to make these changes. Not only that, but the one woman has her 2 kids in on it as well, which I think is great because they're learning about this at a young age, and not a lot of kids are privy to that kind of information to have those experiences so young in life. The issues that I have with this film come from the director, Marissa Miller Wolfson, kind of pushing her lifestyle on these 3 people and telling them, this is what needs to happen, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to go about it. I understand if it comes from a doctor's perspective, but for somebody to kind of push the vegan lifestyle onto others, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's a very personal choice, and if you agree with the lifestyle, then definitely experience it and to test it out for yourself. But if you don't, there's really like I understand spreading the message to other people, but there's a way to go about it. And this kind of walks that thin line between wrong and right. One scene in particular that I really didn't like in this film, even though it works and it really sends the message, is when 2 two of the participants and then Marissa Wolfson, they go and they trespass on a farm, which is a family farm, and they see 3 dead pigs. I really don't like the fact that they trespassed. I get it. Outside people need to understand the facts and need to see it firsthand, but what I think they did was wrong. And even though it did send a clear message to the 2 people on the diet, it was kind of the wrong way to go about it, even though it was the right way to go about it, if that makes sense. By seeing the 3 dead pigs in the bin and just them rotting away, the 2 people definitely got the clear message that this is what's happening, it's real, you need to make a change in your lifestyle. But as a passive viewer, I'm really disappointed in the scene because it acts as clickbait. This is the clickbait that the vegans use to get people introduced to the diet and to get them to make the lifestyle change. It does blur the lines between eating a vegan diet for health reasons and eating a vegan diet for the industry reasons. Other than that, this film, it wasn't the best one that I've seen this week, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to see a few worse films this week. That's what I'm anticipating. But you know what? It does its job. It works as a film, and it was pretty good, all things said. So it's Thursday. I just got back from a 5K walk, so excuse my redness and glistening skin. I watched my 4th movie last night, and that was Hungry for Change. This movie was the best one that I have seen all week. Hands down. I absolutely loved it. This one was more focused on health and diet and weight loss compared to veganism and the food industries, and this one really struck a chord in me. They talked about a lot of the things that I'm trying to accomplish or achieve over the next 15 weeks, and a lot of things that I've already put into practice, and now I watched the results and what they're talking about, and I'm glad I started doing those things. So the first thing I want to talk about that I really loved about this film was the fact that they brought up soda, or pop as I call it because I'm Canadian. So me and my sister gave up soda 7.5 years ago. We gave it up because one of our cousins actually gave it up for a year and she found really awesome results. Personally for me, I don't know why Emily gave it up too, but I guess she saw the same kind of reasonings that I did, is that I kept feeling super bloated when I would drink pop, and I absolutely hated that feeling, and I don't regret giving it up. At the same time, I also gave up eating chips, so any prepackaged chips that you would find down the chip aisle, the reason I gave it up, when you walk down the chip aisle, it's also the pop aisle, and if I went down that aisle, I would feel like a pull to want to grab one of them and drink or eat them. So we gave it up, and I feel so great about that. We don't have all that extra sugar, we don't have all those extra chemicals in our diet. I could see myself going the rest of my life without drinking pop. The other thing I loved about this film is how they talked about sugar and chlorophyll, or leafy greens. This film really addressed a wide spectrum of different dietary issues and the reasons why Americans and people all over the world are gaining a lot of fat really quickly and not able to lose it. And sugar is one of the #1 things that is added into everything, no matter what. It's pretty much in everything, and it's making us fat. Tomorrow's documentary is probably going to be sugar coated, and I'm looking forward to watching that one. I'm going to talk about that more in tomorrow's update. Overall, this movie was really great. So far, it's my favorite, and I am definitely going to watch it again within the next few weeks. I would recommend it to you out of all of the films that I have watched this week, and we're only 4 days in, so on to Friday. So it's Friday. Today's review is going to be super quick, mostly because it is so late. I just finished the movie, and today I watched Sugar Coated. I didn't do a ton of research on this movie because honestly, it made me so angry. I did not like this film at all. Wouldn't recommend watching it unless you want to learn about the sugar industry, which I agree with some of the points that they're making, but honestly, the majority of it just made me so angry. This film is all about the sugar industry and how the researchers are being paid by the sugar industry to come up with all of these research results saying that sugar is actually okay for you and it's not addictive, it's not part of weight gain and all of that stuff. They compared it to the nicotine industry and the tobacco industry back way so long ago when they were trying to push cigarettes on everybody. But now it is sugar that they're pushing on everybody, and it's in everything. It's insane. The part that I really didn't like about this film, that I really hated, was the fact that they're basically telling you that all types of sugar are bad for you. Now, don't get me wrong, sugar is bad for you, especially the refined white cane sugar, high fructose corn syrup, all of those types of really bad sugar. But fruit and all that kind of sugar that lives inside natural whole ingredients, that's not bad for you. The one part in the film that was awful is when the kids were being interviewed, or they were doing some kind of study with one of the doctors, and he was asking them questions, and they were very educated questions that they wanted answers to. And the one kid, or the one girl, or whoever said it, asked, what happens if I eat a ton of fruit? Am I overloading my liver? And the doctor that was interviewing them or teaching them, he basically ignored her and told them that all types of sugar are bad. Like, what? He's completely contradicting the rest of the film, and then the rest of the film supports his argument but then argues a different way. I don't know. I think their message was trying to be clear, but they didn't make it necessarily clear, and certain key players in this film just weren't participating properly with what the agenda of the film was. That's why I didn't like it. Hopefully tomorrow's documentary will be a lot better. So it is Saturday, I'm getting ready to go out for the day, and I just finished watching my 6th movie of the week, and that is Food Matters. This movie was mostly focusing on big pharma, big pharmaceutical industry, how it's controlling the healthcare system in the United States. They also had a really interesting raw foodist, I don't remember his name, but he was featured in there, and they were talking about cleaning out your body so that all the toxins have been released. That way you can fill your body up with the good kind of food and all of that stuff and heal all of the illnesses. This one's very similar to some of the ones that I saw earlier on in the week, but it's really dealing with pharmaceuticals and drugs and a lot of cancers and just different issues. There was a very graphic part where they actually showed you pictures of different cancers, and that was awful. I had to look away for that. This movie wasn't my favorite from this week, but it wasn't the worst from this week either. I'd place it in like the 4th-ish spot. We have one more to go, and I'm looking forward to finishing up this week. So it's Sunday, it is the last day of the week, and I finally finished my last film. So for this, I decided to watch The Kids Menu, which is produced by Joe Cross, who came out with the Fat, Sick, Nearly Dead and then Fat, Sick, Nearly Dead #2. And this one is kind of like a follow-up film to those two, and he talks a lot about kids' nutrition and nutrition education that kids get in schools. This one is not really talking about like the juice cleansing and solving all of your health issues with juicing, but rather teaching people proper nutrition, teaching them where food comes from, how good it is for you, teaching them like different types of food as well, and like introducing these kids to new fruits and vegetables that they never knew existed. I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was great. After about 45 minutes, it all kind of became super repetitive, but you know what? They really sold their point on nutrition and teaching it young and getting more people involved in healthy eating and healthy lifestyles. I am very fortunate enough to be able to have been taught how to cook at a really young age and actually understand nutrition, but at the same time, I wasn't really following those cooking and eating practices. I was still eating a lot of processed food, and it's nobody's fault. Everything that I've gained since then has been my fault because I was old enough to kind of voice my opinions and say, I don't want to eat that. I'm going to eat healthy instead. So this movie definitely kind of struck a chord in me, reminded me of my childhood, and made me kind of think of ways that I could help my sister and my brother maybe eat a little bit healthier, and then kids of the future kind of teach them better healthy eating lifestyles. So yeah, that is day 7. I am done. I'll see you tomorrow. Now it's time for my weekly results. So this week, since I was not on the juice cleanse, I of course gained back some weight, which is bound to happen once you start introducing food back into your system. So when I stepped on the scale this morning, it said 218.5 pounds, and I thought that was awesome because that's only a 4.5 pound weight gain once introducing food. Yes, I would like it to be a lot lower, but it wasn't that bad. However, when I got my camera and I stepped on the scale, it said 222 pounds. Now my camera weighs 2 pounds in itself, so I can just shave off an extra 2 pounds, but I mean, where did that extra 1.5 pounds come from? Maybe I need a new scale, so I am just going to say that I am 218.5 pounds. Now, because I did gain back some of the weight, I put on a little bit more water weight in my chest and my stomach. However, my arms and my thighs actually went down, which I am super happy with. So I'm gonna start with my arms today. Last week they were 15 inches around, and this week they are 14 3/4 inches around. So that is a 1/4 of an inch shaved off, which is awesome. My thighs, I ended up losing 1/2 of an inch. So last week I was 25.5, and now they are 25 inches around. My chest, I ended up gaining 1/2 of an inch. So I started at 45 from last week, and now I am at 45.5. And as for my weight, last week I was 45 1/4 inches around, and this week I am 46.5 inches around. So that is 1.25 inches gained back. Yes, I've been introducing more foods, but I have been exercising a lot recently, and that is why I am so significantly burnt in this weekly update. My face is covered pretty well right now, but as soon as I show you like my chest and then my burns, like look at that burn, that is awful. That is my tan line from when I go walking every day. So that is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Next week is going to be a little bit more labor intensive. The quality of the video probably will go down a little bit, but that's okay. So again, if you want to leave a suggestion for a future video or future challenge you'd like to see me do, please leave that down below, and don't forget to vote up in the poll for what you want to see me do next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye!